The sound of her sobbing reached Zale before he saw her, shattering the silence he had come here to find on this cold November evening. He froze on the gravel path leading to the Overlook, his leather shoes crunching to a halt as the raw sound of grief cut through the wind. For 5 years, he had driven up here on the 15th of every month, seeking solitude at this remote cliff edge that overlooked the valley below. In all that time, he had never encountered another soul. The Overlook was unmarked, accessible only by a poorly maintained service road most people did not know existed. Yet here she was, hunched on the same wooden bench where he always sat, her shoulders shaking with the force of her tears. Isaac hesitated, debating whether to turn back. He had scheduled this visit into his calendar, as he did everything else, blocking out 2 hours from his relentless schedule running Zenith Industries, the commercial real estate empire he had built from nothing over the past decade. At 32, he had everything most people dreamed of: wealth that grew faster than he could spend it, properties across 3 continents, respect in business circles that made deals happen with a single phone call. But he also had sleepless nights, a constant pressure in his chest, and a loneliness that followed him even into crowded rooms. This Overlook was where he came to breathe, to remember who he had been before the money and the expectations. Sharing it felt wrong. But the woman's crying intensified, a desperate, broken sound that made his own problems feel small. Isaac found himself walking forward despite his reservations, his footsteps deliberately loud to announce his presence. She did not look up until he was 10 feet away, and when she did, her face was blotchy and wet, her eyes swollen and red. She looked to be in her mid-20s, with dark hair that fell past her shoulders in tangled waves, wearing jeans and a thin jacket completely inadequate for the dropping temperature. "I am sorry," she said immediately, wiping frantically at her face with her sleeve. "I did not know anyone else came up here. I will go." "Do not," Isaac heard himself say. He gestured to the far end of the bench. "This is not my Overlook. You were here first." She stared at him for a long moment, and he noticed her eyes were a striking shade of amber, even bloodshot as they were. Then she shook her head. "No, you come here. I can see it on your face. This is your place. How can you see that? Because you looked annoyed when you heard me." She attempted a smile that did not quite work. "I recognize that expression. Someone has invaded your sacred space." Isaac felt heat rise in his face. "I was not annoyed, just surprised. I've been coming here for 5 years and never seen anyone else." "I found it 3 weeks ago," she said, looking back out at the valley. The sun was setting, painting the autumn trees below in shades of orange and gold. "I was driving around, trying to find somewhere quiet to fall apart, and I saw the turnoff. It felt like the edge of the world, perfect for disappearing." The bleakness in her voice made Isaac sit down, leaving a respectful distance between them. "Do you want to talk about it?" "Not particularly." She pulled her jacket tighter around herself. "Do you? Talk about what?" "Whatever brings you up here every month looking like you are carrying the weight of the world." Isaac almost smiled. "How do you know it is every month? Lucky guess. You have that look, very scheduled, very controlled." "I bet you have a standing appointment in your calendar." When he did not deny it, she nodded. "Thought so. So we are both escaping something. We just have different styles." They sat in silence for several minutes, watching the sun sink lower. Isaac noticed she was shivering. Without thinking too hard about it, he shrugged off his wool coat and held it out to her. She looked at it, then at him. "I cannot take your coat." "You can, and you will. You are freezing, and I have a sweater on." When she still hesitated, he added, "Please." "I cannot sit here watching you turn hypothermic." She took the coat with a small, grateful sound and wrapped it around herself. It dwarfed her, making her look even smaller. "Thank you. I am Sophia, by the way, Sophia Sullivan. Isaac Zale. Nice to meet you, Isaac, even under these weird circumstances. She tucked her hands into the coat sleeves. I should warn you, I am probably going to keep crying. It comes in waves. I cannot seem to stop. That is okay, Isaac said, surprising himself with how much he meant it. Cry if you need to. And she did. The tears came again, quieter this time but no less painful to witness. Isaac sat beside her as the sky darkened, saying nothing, just being present. He found himself wanting to know what had hurt her so badly, wanting to fix it the way he fixed problems at work with money and negotiation and sheer force of will. But he knew some things could not be fixed that easily. Some pain just had to be weathered. When the crying subsided again, Sophia spoke into the darkness. My mother died 3 weeks ago, cancer. We knew it was coming, but knowing does not make it easier. I am sorry, Isaac said, the words feeling inadequate. She was 51, too young. She had so many things she still wanted to do. Sophia's voice cracked. And I cannot stop thinking about all the time I wasted. I moved 2 hours away for a job, and I kept saying I would visit more often, but I was always busy. Always something more important. And now she is gone, and I can never get that time back. Isaac felt something twist in his chest. I lost my father when I was 22. Heart attack, completely unexpected. I was in business school, convinced I was going to change the world, too busy to come home most weekends. I understand that guilt. Sophia turned to look at him, her amber eyes catching the last light. Does it get better? The grief does. The guilt is trickier. But eventually you learn to remember the good times instead of counting the missed ones. It just takes a while. How long? Isaac thought about it honestly. I am not sure I am there yet, even 10 years later, but it is better than it was. She nodded slowly. At least you are honest. Everyone keeps telling me it will be okay, that time heals everything, but it feels like a lie right now. It does, Isaac agreed. Right now, it probably feels like you will never be okay again. Yes. The word came out as almost a whisper. Exactly yes. They stayed until full darkness fell and the cold became too much to ignore. Isaac walked Sophia back to the parking area where her beat-up Honda sat next to his sleek black Mercedes. She tried to return his coat, but he refused. Bring it next time, he said. Next time. The 15th. I will be back on December 15th. Maybe you will too. Sophia studied his face in the glow of the parking lights. Maybe I will. She drove away first, her taillights disappearing down the winding road. Isaac sat in his car for a long time afterward, not quite ready to return to his penthouse apartment and the stack of contracts waiting for his review. For the first time in months, his thoughts were not on profit margins and acquisition targets. They were on a woman with amber eyes who cried like her heart was breaking, and how strange it was to feel less alone after meeting someone who was suffering too. The next month felt longer than usual. Isaac threw himself into work, closing a major deal to acquire a chain of office buildings in Chicago, flying to New York 3 times for meetings, attending charity galas where he smiled and made small talk and wrote checks that meant nothing to his bank account. His assistant, Patricia, commented that he seemed distracted. His business partner, Marcus, asked if he was feeling all right. Isaac assured them both he was fine, but he found his thoughts drifting at odd moments to that Overlook and the woman he had met there. He told himself he was just curious about whether she would show up. That was all. She had been drowning in fresh grief, and he hoped she was doing better, that the weeks had brought her some peace. It had nothing to do with the way her vulnerability had made him feel less alone, or how her honesty had been refreshing after years of people telling him what they thought he wanted to hear. He had not felt that kind of genuine human connection in a long time. December 15th came, cold and clear. Isaac left his office at exactly 4:30, ignoring the surprised looks from his staff. He never left before 7. He drove the 45-minute route to the Overlook on autopilot, his heart beating faster than he wanted to admit as he turned onto the service road. Her Honda was already there when he pulled into the small parking area. Isaac found Sophia sitting on the same bench, his coat wrapped around her shoulders over another thin jacket. She turned when she heard his footsteps, and he was relieved to see she was not crying this time. Her face looked better, less swollen, though there were dark circles under her eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. "You came," she said. "So did you?" "I thought about not coming. It felt strange planning to meet someone here. This place felt like it should stay private." Sophia pulled the coat tighter. "But then I realized I wanted to see if you were real. The whole night felt like a dream afterward." Isaac sat down beside her closer than last time. "I am real, and I am glad you came." They watched the sunset together, the silence more comfortable than it had any right to be between near strangers. When the colors began to fade, Sophia spoke without looking at him. "It has been a little better. Some days, anyway. I moved back home, broke my lease in the city. I could not keep living 2 hours away from my dad and brother. They need me and I need them." "What about your job?" "I quit. I was working as a graphic designer for an advertising firm, but they would not let me go remote, so I quit," she shrugged. "It felt good, actually. I never really liked it there. They treated designers like machines. Input a request, output a design, repeat until you burn out." "What will you do instead?" "I am not sure yet. Freelance, maybe. I have some savings to hold me over while I figure it out." She finally looked at him. "What about you? What do you do when you are not visiting secret overlooks?" Isaac hesitated. He did not want to lie, but he also knew how people changed when they learned about his wealth. "I run a commercial real estate company. Buy properties, develop them, lease them out." "Sounds complicated." "It can be." He left it at that, and she did not press. "Is that what brings you up here? Work stress?" "Partly. It is more about the solitude. I spend all day around people who want something from me. Decisions, money, approval. Up here, nobody wants anything. I can just exist." Sophia nodded slowly. "I get that. Although lately I want people around. The quiet makes me think too much, remember too much. Being alone feels dangerous." "Then why come up here? Because you would be here." And somehow being alone together felt different than being alone alone. She blushed when she said it, looking away quickly. "Sorry, that probably sounds weird." "It does not," Isaac said quietly. "It sounds exactly right." They talked for over an hour that night about everything and nothing. Sophia told him about her mother's love of gardening, how she could make anything grow. Isaac found himself sharing stories about his father, memories he had not spoken aloud in years. They discovered they both hated coffee but drank it anyway. Both preferred old movies to new ones. Both had a strange fondness for thunderstorms. When they finally left, Isaac felt lighter than he had in months. As they walked to their cars, Sophia tried again to return his coat. "Keep it until next month," Isaac said. "Give me a reason to see you again." She smiled, a real smile this time. "January 15th, I will be here." He was. So was she. And the month after that and the one after that. Their meetings became the focal point of Isaac's month, the thing he looked forward to more than any business success or social event. They talked about their lives, their families, their dreams and fears. Sophia told him about her freelance work taking off, about designing a logo for a local restaurant that the owner loved, about slowly learning to live with the grief. Isaac talked about the pressure of running a business, the loneliness of wealth, the way success felt hollow when there was nobody to share it with. In February, They started arriving earlier, making their time together last longer. In March, Isaac brought coffee in a thermos, even though neither of them really liked it, just to have something warm to hold. In April, Sophia brought homemade cookies, and they sat on the bench eating them while watching the valley turn green below them. It was not until May that Isaac realized he was falling in love with her. The realization hit him during a board meeting, of all places. He was supposed to be listening to quarterly projections, but instead, he was thinking about how Sophia laughed. This surprised, delighted sound like she could not quite believe something was funny. He was thinking about the small scar on her left eyebrow that she had gotten falling off a bike when she was 8. He was thinking about how badly he wanted to see her before the 15th, how once a month was not nearly enough. The thought terrified him. Isaac had not seriously dated anyone in 3 years. His last relationship had imploded when his girlfriend admitted she was more in love with his bank account than with him. Before that, there had been a string of disappointments, women who wanted the lifestyle he could provide but not the man who provided it. He had decided it was easier to be alone than to constantly wonder if he was being used. But Sophia did not know about his wealth. She thought he ran a modest real estate company, probably assumed he made decent money but nothing extraordinary. She liked him for who he was, not what he had, and that made everything more complicated. He should tell her the truth. He knew that. But every time he opened his mouth to explain that he was not just comfortable but actually worth hundreds of millions of dollars, that Zenith Industries was one of the largest commercial real estate firms in the country, that his properties included some of the most recognizable buildings in major cities, the words stuck in his throat. What if it changed things? What if she looked at him differently, treated him differently? What if she felt deceived and angry that he had hidden it for so long? May 15th was warm, the first truly spring-like day they had shared at the Overlook. Sophia arrived wearing a sundress instead of her usual jeans, her dark hair loose around her shoulders. Isaac felt his breath catch when he saw her. "You are staring," she said, but she was smiling. "You look beautiful." She blushed, pleased. "Thank you." I figured it was time to stop dressing like I was attending my own funeral. They sat close together on the bench, their shoulders touching, a casualness to the contact that had developed over months of meetings. Isaac found himself very aware of the warmth of her body next to his. "Can I ask you something?" Sophia said after a while. "Anything? Why are you still single? And before you tell me it is none of my business, I know it is not, but I am curious." Isaac considered how to answer honestly without revealing too much. "I suppose I have not met the right person. Or when I thought I had, it turned out I was wrong about them. What happened? She was with me for the wrong reasons. Took me too long to figure it out." Sophia turned to face him more fully. What were the wrong reasons? Money, status, what I could do for her career. He met her eyes. "Everything but actually caring about me. That is horrible. I am sorry. It is okay. It taught me to be careful, maybe too careful." Isaac hesitated, then decided to risk it. "What about you? Why is someone like you single? Someone like me, smart, kind, beautiful. You must have men lining up." Sophia laughed, that surprised, delighted sound. "I can assure you there are no lines. My last relationship ended about a year ago. He wanted someone more ambitious, someone focused on climbing the corporate ladder. When I told him I was thinking about going freelance, he said I was wasting my potential." She shook her head. "I realized I did not want to be with someone who measured my worth by my job title. He was an idiot, maybe, or maybe we just wanted different things." She bumped her shoulder against his. "But I am glad it ended. Otherwise, I might not have been available when I met this interesting man at an Overlook." Isaac's heart sped up. Interesting. Very. He is mysterious and kind and a really good listener. I find myself thinking about him a lot between our visits. Just thinking, maybe more than thinking." Sophia's voice dropped softer. "Isaac, these past 6 months, seeing you every month, it has become the best part of my life. You have helped me heal in ways I did not expect. But it is more than that. I think I am developing feelings for you." There it was, out in the open. Isaac felt a rush of joy and terror in equal measure. "I have feelings for you too. I have for a while now." "Really, really." "Sophia, I spend all month waiting for the 15th. You are the first person I think about in the morning and the last person I think about before sleep. I want to see you more than once a month. I want to take you to dinner, to meet you for coffee even though we both hate it, to just spend time with you in normal circumstances." "Then why have you not asked me?" "Because I am scared. There are things about my life, about who I am, that might change how you see me. And I have really liked being with someone who knows me as just Isaac, not as anything more complicated than that." Sophia reached out and took his hand, her fingers threading through his. "Isaac, whatever you think might change things, I promise you it will not. I know who you are. I have spent 6 months learning who you are. Nothing could change that." He wanted to believe her. God, he wanted to believe her. But he had heard similar promises before. "Can you give me a little more time? I will tell you everything, I swear, but let me do it right when I am ready." She studied his face for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, but Isaac, do not wait too long. I am terrible at being patient." He kissed her then, unable to stop himself. Just a soft press of lips, tentative and sweet. She made a small sound of surprise, then kissed him back, her free hand coming up to rest against his chest. When they pulled apart, they were both breathing harder. "I have wanted to do that for months," Isaac admitted. "Then you should have done it sooner." Sophia smiled, her eyes bright. "We have wasted a lot of time only meeting once a month. Let me take you to dinner tomorrow night, a real date. I would love that." They made plans before parting that evening, Isaac writing down her phone number with fingers that shook slightly. As he drove home, he could not stop replaying the kiss in his mind, the feel of her lips on his, the way she had melted into him like she had been waiting for it too. He had to tell her the truth, soon. But first, he wanted one date where she still saw him as just Isaac, one perfect evening before reality intruded. Was that so wrong? He picked her up the next evening in his Mercedes, having agonized over whether to take a more modest car and deciding that was taking the deception too far. Sophia lived in a small ranch house on the outskirts of town, her father's place, he realized, when an older man answered the door. "Dad, this is Isaac," Sophia said, appearing behind him in a navy dress that made Isaac's mouth go dry. "Isaac, this is my father, Thomas Sullivan." Thomas looked Isaac up and down with the assessing gaze of a protective father. "Nice to meet you. My daughter speaks highly of you." "She speaks highly of you too, sir. It is an honor to meet you." They shook hands, Thomas's grip firm and measuring. "Take care of her tonight." "I will." Isaac took her to an Italian restaurant downtown, a place he had vetted carefully. It was nice enough to show he put thought into the evening, but not so expensive that it would raise questions. They sat in a corner booth, talking and laughing over pasta and wine, the conversation flowing as easily as it did at the Overlook. Isaac found himself relaxing, enjoying the simple pleasure of a dinner date without the weight of expectations that usually came with his wealth. "Tell me about your family," Sophia said over dessert. "You have mentioned your father, but not much else." "My mother is still alive, lives in Florida. She remarried a few years after my father died, a good man named Richard. I have a younger sister, Alina, who is a teacher in Boston. We are close, talk every week." "Does your mother know about me?" Isaac felt heat creep up his neck. "I may have mentioned someone I have been spending time with." And she is demanding to meet you. She has been on my case about settling down for years." Sophia grinned. "I like her already. What about your sister?" Elena is more skeptical. "She has seen me date the wrong people enough times to be protective. Will she like me?" "She will love you," Isaac said with certainty. How could she not? They lingered over coffee neither of them enjoyed, neither wanting the evening to end. When Isaac finally drove Sophia home, he walked her to the door, his hand at the small of her back. "I had a wonderful time tonight," she said, turning to face him on the porch. "So did I. Can I see you again before next month? Because I cannot wait that long." "I was hoping you would say that. Are you free this weekend?" "I will make sure I am." He kissed her good night, longer and deeper than the first time, and drove home feeling like he was floating. The next 3 weeks became a blur of stolen time together. They met for lunch when Isaac could escape his office. They went to movies and held hands in the dark. They took long drives into the country, talking about everything. Sophia showed him her design work, and Isaac was awed by her talent, the way she could take a simple concept and transform it into something visually stunning. And with each day that passed, the lie of omission grew heavier. He tried to tell her a dozen times. The words would be right there, ready to spill out, and then he would lose his nerve. What if she got angry? What if she felt fooled? What if the money changed everything the way it always did? It was Marcus who finally forced the issue. Isaac was at his office on a Wednesday afternoon when his business partner burst in without knocking, looking furious. "Want to explain why there is a picture of you and some woman all over social media right now?" Isaac's blood turned to ice. "What?" Marcus threw his phone on the desk. The screen showed a photo taken at the restaurant where Isaac and Sophia had eaten the previous night. They were sitting close together, his hand over hers on the table, both of them laughing at something. The caption read, "Zenith Industries CEO Isaac Zale spotted on a romantic date." "Who is the mystery woman? How did I not know you were seeing someone?" Marcus demanded. "And more importantly, who is she? We need to get ahead of this, make sure she is not a problem." "She is not a problem," Isaac said tightly, staring at the photo. "And I did not tell you because it is private." "Nothing in your life is private, Isaac. You are worth $300 million and run one of the biggest commercial real estate firms in the country. People pay attention." Marcus leaned forward. "So who is she? What does she do? Does she know who you are?" That was the question, was it not? Isaac closed his eyes. "We have been seeing each other for a few weeks. And no, she does not know exactly who I am. I mean, she knows I run a real estate company, but not the extent of it." "You have got to be kidding me." "Isaac, this is how you get exploited, how you get taken advantage of. She is not like that. That is what you said about Jessica, and she tried to extort you for $500,000 when you broke up. Sophia is different. You do not know that. People get weird about money. You know this." Marcus grabbed his phone back. "This picture has thousands of shares already. She's going to find out who you are, probably within the next few hours. You need to get ahead of it. Tell her yourself before someone else does." Isaac knew Marcus was right. He grabbed his jacket and keys, his heart hammering. "I have to go." "Isaac, wait. We need a strategy for this." "The strategy is I go tell the woman I am falling in love with that I have been lying to her for 6 months. He made it to Sophia's house in record time, barely remembering the drive. Her Honda was in the driveway, meaning she was home. Isaac knocked on the door, trying to figure out what he was going to say, how he could possibly explain this in a way that did not make him sound like every other rich guy who thought his money excused dishonesty. Sophia answered the door with a smile that faded when she saw his face. "Isaac, what is wrong? You look terrified. Can we talk? Inside, of course." She stepped back to let him in, concern creasing her forehead. You are scaring me. What happened? They sat in her small living room, and Isaac realized he had no idea where to start, so he just blurted it out. My full name is Isaac Zale. I am the founder and CEO of Zenith Industries, which is one of the largest commercial real estate firms in the country. I am worth approximately $300 million, give or take depending on the market. And I should have told you this months ago, but I did not because I am a coward and I liked being with someone who did not know. Sophia stared at him, her face blank with shock. What? I know. I am sorry. I did not set out to lie to you. When we first met, I just did not correct your assumptions. And then we kept seeing each other, and you clearly had no idea who I was, and I loved that. I loved being with someone who saw me as just Isaac. But I should have told you, especially once we started dating. I was wrong. $300 million, she repeated slowly, more or less. And Zenith Industries. That company owns like half the office buildings in the city. About 40% actually. Sophia stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. Isaac watched her, his stomach churning. She was silent for a long time, her back to him, her shoulders tense. Why are you telling me now? She finally asked, her voice carefully controlled. Because someone took a picture of us at dinner last night. It is all over social media. You were going to find out anyway, and I wanted you to hear it from me. She turned to look at him, her amber eyes unreadable. So if there was no picture, you would have just kept lying. No. I mean, I do not know. I was trying to figure out how to tell you. For 6 months you have been trying to figure it out. I know how it sounds. Do you? Because from where I am standing, it sounds like you did not trust me. Like you thought I was the kind of person who would treat you differently because of your money, and rather than give me a chance to prove otherwise, you just decided to lie. Her voice was getting louder, anger bleeding through the control. Do you know how that makes me feel? Like you looked at me and saw someone too shallow or too greedy to care about you for who you actually are. That is not it, Isaac said desperately. Sophia, I have been burned before. Badly. I have had people pretend to care about me just to get access to my money. It has made me paranoid and careful and yes, maybe too slow to trust. But none of that was about you. It was about my own issues. But it affected me anyway. It affected us. She wrapped her arms around herself. I opened up to you about my mother, about my grief, about things I have not talked about with anyone else. And you could not trust me with basic facts about yourself. You are right. You are absolutely right, and I am so sorry. Sorry does not fix this, Isaac. Sorry does not change the fact that for 6 months, I have been falling in love with someone who did not exist. Because the Isaac I fell for was honest. The Isaac I fell for trusted me. But that was not real, was it? The words cut deeper than anything else she could have said. I am real. Everything between us has been real. The money does not change who I am. But it does change things. It changes everything. Sophia's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I told you I left my job because they would not let me work remotely. What I did not mention was that I am barely scraping by on freelance work right now. I am living with my dad because I cannot afford my own place. I worry about money constantly, about whether I can pay my bills, about whether I made a huge mistake leaving a stable job. And all this time you have been a multimillionaire, probably judging me for being broke. I would never judge you for that. Never. But you knew and I did not. That is an unequal relationship, Isaac. You had all the information and I had none. Isaac stood up, moving closer to her but not touching. You are right. I handled this terribly and I do not blame you for being angry. But Sophia, please believe me when I say my feelings for you are real. The money is just details. It does not change how I feel. Details, she repeated bitterly. $300 million is not details. It is a completely different life than the one I thought you lived. Then let me show you it does not matter. Let me prove that I am still the same person you have been getting to know. I need time, she said, turning away from him again. I need to think about this, about what it means, about whether I can trust you after this. How much time? I do not know. Just please go, Isaac. I cannot look at you right now without feeling hurt and angry and confused. He wanted to argue, to stay and talk this through until she understood. But he had done enough damage. Okay, I will go. But Sophia, I am not giving up on us. I will give you space, but I am not walking away. She did not respond, just stood at the window looking out at nothing. Isaac let himself out, each step away from her feeling like a mistake. He sat in his car for a long time, staring at her house, hoping she would come out and say they could work through this. But she did not. The next week was the worst of Isaac's life. He threw himself into work, but for once it provided no distraction. He checked his phone constantly, hoping for a text or call from Sophia that never came. He drove to the Overlook twice just to feel closer to her, sitting on their bench alone and wondering if he had destroyed the best thing in his life. Marcus tried to talk to him about the media attention, about how they needed to address the speculation about his mystery girlfriend. Isaac told him to handle it however he wanted. He did not care. His mother called, having seen the picture online, demanding to know who the woman was and why he looked so miserable when Alina reported talking to him. Isaac gave her the short version, and she made sympathetic noises while also pointing out that, yes, he should have been honest sooner. But son, she said, if she really cares about you, she will come around. Give her time to process. What if time just makes her realize she is better off without me? Then she was not the right person, but I do not think that is going to happen. Isaac wanted to believe her. Sophia spent the week after Isaac's revelation in a fog. Part of her was furious at him for the deception. Part of her was hurt that he had not trusted her. And part of her, a part she did not want to acknowledge, was intimidated by the sheer scale of his wealth, $300 million. She could not even conceptualize that kind of money. It was so far beyond her reality as to be almost meaningless. Isaac could buy her father's house 1,000 times over without noticing the expense. He probably spent more on suits than she made in a year. And yes, the money did change things, no matter what he said. How could it not? They came from completely different worlds now. He was a CEO who ran a massive company, who had responsibilities and pressures she could not begin to understand. She was a struggling freelance designer who considered it a good month if she could pay her bills and have a little left over. But beneath the anger and hurt and intimidation, there was something else. She missed him, desperately. She missed their talks, the way he listened like everything she said mattered, the way he made her laugh. She missed the safety she felt with him, the sense that she could be completely herself without judgment. She missed the way he kissed her, gentle and passionate at once. The question was whether that Isaac, the one she had fallen in love with, was real or just a performance he had put on. Her father found her staring at her phone on the 5th day, debating for the 100th time whether to call Isaac. "You know," Thomas said, settling into the chair across from her, "sulking has never been your style." "I am not sulking, I am thinking." "Looks like sulking to me. Want to talk about it?" Sophia set her phone down. "Did you know Isaac is crazy rich?" "Like multimillionaire, owns half the city rich," Thomas nodded slowly. "I figured he had money when I saw that car. You do not drive a Mercedes like that on a modest salary." "Why did you not say anything?" "Because it was not my business. You are a grown woman. You can figure out your own relationships." "Well, I wish you had warned me. Finding out he basically lied to me for 6 months was not fun. Did he lie, or did he just not volunteer information?" Thomas asked mildly. Sophia frowned. What is the difference? One is actively deceiving someone. The other is being private about parts of your life until you are ready to share them. It seems to me this young man has been burned before by people who wanted his money. Can you really blame him for being careful? I am not some gold digger, Dad. I know that, and I suspect he knows that too now, but he did not know it when you first met. You were strangers. He has no obligation to tell strangers his net worth. But we stopped being strangers months ago. We started dating. He should have told me then. Thomas leaned back. Your mother and I dated for 3 months before I told her I had been engaged before. I was embarrassed about how that relationship ended, scared she would judge me for it. She was pretty mad when she found out. Sophia had never heard this story. What did she do? She told me I was an idiot for not trusting her sooner, but she understood why I was scared. She gave me a chance to prove I would not hold things back going forward, and I never did. We had 30 years of honesty after those first few months of me being a coward. His eyes were sad with memory. People are not perfect, honey. We mess up, especially when we are scared. The question is not whether Isaac made a mistake. He obviously did. The question is whether he is worth forgiving. Sophia thought about that for a long time after her father left the room. Was Isaac worth forgiving? Could she move past the hurt and betrayal to see his side of things? She pulled out her laptop and did something she had been avoiding. She searched for Isaac Zale online. The results were overwhelming. Hundreds of articles about his business deals, his company, his rise from being the son of a factory worker to building a real estate empire. Photos of him at charity events in expensive tuxedos, always alone or with business associates, never with a date. Stories about his philanthropy, the foundations he supported, the scholarships he funded for underprivileged kids. And there, buried on the 3rd page of results, an article from 4 years ago. Zenith Industries CEO ends engagement amid extortion attempt. Sophia clicked on it, her heart sinking as she read. Isaac had been engaged to a woman named Jessica Hartwell, who had threatened to release fabricated evidence of abuse if he did not pay her $500,000 when they broke up. The case had been settled out of court, but it was clear Jessica had been after his money from the start. No wonder he was paranoid. No wonder he had been slow to trust. Sophia closed her laptop and picked up her phone. Before she could second-guess herself, she called Isaac. He answered on the first ring. Sophia, hi, can we talk? Yes. God, yes. Do you want me to come there or do you want to meet somewhere? The Overlook. Can you be there in an hour? I will be there in 45 minutes. He made it in 35, his Mercedes skidding slightly on the gravel as he pulled into the parking area. Sophia was already there, sitting on their bench, wearing his coat that she had never returned. Isaac approached slowly, like she was a wild animal that might bolt. Thank you for calling, he said, sitting down carefully at the far end of the bench. I was starting to think you never would. I almost did not. I was really angry at you, Isaac. I still am a little. You have every right to be. But I also understand why you did what you did. I read about Jessica. Isaac flinched. You looked me up. I figured it was time to get the full picture, and that article explained a lot. She tried to extort you. That must have been horrible. It was. But that is not an excuse for lying to you. Yes, I have been burned before, but that was not your fault. You deserved honesty from the beginning, or at least once we started getting serious. Sophia pulled the coat tighter around herself. Can I ask you something? And I need you to be completely honest. Anything. When you first met me, crying at the Overlook, did you see me as a charity case? Some sad, broke girl you could help? What? No. Sophia, when I met you, I saw someone in pain who was brave enough to feel it fully instead of running away. I saw someone honest and real in a way I had forgotten people could be. I have never thought of you as a charity case. But I do not have money. I cannot take you to fancy restaurants or buy expensive things. What if that becomes a problem? Isaac moved closer, taking her hands in his. Listen to me. I do not care about expensive things. I have more money than I know what to do with. What I do not have, what I have been missing for years, is someone who makes me feel like myself instead of like a walking bank account. You do that. You see me, not my net worth. That is worth more than anything money can buy. It is going to be weird, though. You know that, right? People are going to assume I am with you for the money. I am going to worry that when you buy me things, you are trying to fix me somehow. So we will figure it out, together. We will set boundaries, we will communicate, we will be honest about our feelings. But Sophia, please give us a chance. Give me a chance to prove that the money does not matter. She looked at their joined hands, then up at his face. He looked exhausted, like he had not been sleeping. You really hurt me, Isaac. I know. And I will spend as long as it takes making it up to you. You are going to have to be patient with me. I am going to have moments where I doubt this, where I wonder if we are too different. I can be patient. I will be whatever you need me to be. Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. I missed you. This week was awful. It was the worst week of my life, and I am including the week my father died. That is dark. I know, but it is true. Isaac reached up to brush a tear from her cheek. I am so sorry, Sophia, for all of it. I promise I will never hold things back from you again. Total honesty from here on out. Total honesty, she repeated. Okay, then I need to be honest too. Your wealth intimidates me. It makes me feel small and inadequate. And I am going to need time to get used to it, to find my footing in whatever relationship we have. Fair enough. What can I do to help? Keep being yourself. Not the CEO, not the millionaire. Just Isaac, the guy who sits at an Overlook once a month to breathe. That is who I fell in love with. His face transformed, hope lighting his eyes. You love me. I do. Even though you are an idiot who did not trust me. I love you too, so much it terrifies me. He kissed her then, soft and desperate and full of relief. Sophia kissed him back, feeling the last of her anger melt away. They would have challenges ahead, she knew. Navigating their different worlds would not be easy. But sitting there on their bench, the place where they had first met, it felt possible. It felt like something worth fighting for. They stayed at the Overlook until the stars came out, talking through their fears and hopes. Isaac told her everything about his life, his business, his wealth, holding nothing back. Sophia told him about her insecurities, her worries about not being good enough for his world. They made promises to each other to be honest, to communicate, to not let money become a barrier between them. When they finally left, they left together. Sophia following Isaac's car back to the city. He insisted on taking her to his penthouse, wanting to show her his real life, the place where he lived. The apartment was stunning, taking up the entire top floor of a building downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It was beautifully furnished but somehow impersonal, like a very expensive hotel room. It is nice, Sophia said, walking to the windows. It is not a home, Isaac replied. I have never been able to make it feel like one. It is just a place I sleep. She turned to look at him. Why? Because a home needs people in it, love in it. I have been living here alone for 5 years, and it has never been anything more than a space to exist in. Sophia crossed the room to him, taking his hands. Maybe we can change that, together. Over the next few months, they did exactly that. Sophia started spending more time at Isaac's penthouse, bringing small touches that made it feel warmer. A throw blanket for the couch, plants for the windowsills, photographs on the walls. Isaac made space for her, clearing out a closet, giving her a key, making it clear he wanted her there. She met his mother and sister. a weekend trip to Boston that she had dreaded, but that went surprisingly well. Elena was skeptical at first, protective of her brother, but warmed up when she saw how happy Sophia made him. Isaac's mother hugged Sophia like they were already family, and whispered that she had not seen Isaac smile like this in years. Isaac met more of Sophia's family too, her brother Daniel and his wife, her extended relatives who gathered for Sunday dinners that were loud and chaotic, and everything Isaac's lonely childhood had not been. He fit in better than Sophia had expected, helping in the kitchen, playing with her young nieces and nephews, charming her grandmother with his good manners. The money issue came up occasionally, usually when Isaac wanted to do something extravagant, and Sophia felt uncomfortable with it. He wanted to take her to Paris for her birthday. She suggested a weekend cabin in the mountains instead. He wanted to pay off her student loans. She asked him to wait, to let her handle her own finances. They compromised, negotiated, sometimes argued, but always with respect for each other's feelings. Sophia's freelance business grew, partially through her own talent and hard work, and partially, she had to admit, through connections Isaac introduced her to. She designed logos and websites for several companies that leased space in Zenith buildings. When she worried she was only getting work because of Isaac, he pointed out that they came back because she was good, that nobody gave repeat business out of pity. Isaac introduced Sophia to the charity work he did, foundations that supported foster kids and scholarships for first-generation college students. She started volunteering with an art program for underprivileged youth, teaching design basics. They went together to charity galas, and Isaac taught her how to navigate those events, how to smile through boring conversations and deflect intrusive questions. The media attention on their relationship eventually died down to occasional speculation. Isaac made it clear through his publicist that his personal life was off limits, and eventually, people moved on to other stories. They still went to the Overlook on the 15th of every month, but now they went together, sitting close on the bench and talking about their lives. It was no longer a place of solitude and escape, but a place of shared history, where their story had begun. A year after that first meeting, Isaac took Sophia back to the Overlook on a warm November evening. She noticed he was nervous, fidgeting with his car keys as they walked to the bench. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You are acting weird." "I am fine. Just thinking." They sat down and Isaac took her hand. "Do you remember the first time we met here? You were crying and I almost turned around and left because I did not want to share this space." "I remember. I tried to leave and you told me to stay. Best decision I ever made." He turned to face her fully. "Sophia, this past year with you has been the happiest of my life. You have made me remember what it feels like to really live instead of just existing. You have brought color and warmth into my world. You have made that cold penthouse feel like a home. You have made me feel like more than just my bank account or my business. You have made me feel loved for who I am." Sophia felt tears start in her eyes. "Isaac, what are you doing?" He slid off the bench onto one knee, pulling a small box from his jacket pocket. "I am asking you to marry me. I know we come from different worlds and I know there will be challenges ahead, but I want to face them with you. I want to build a life with you, a real life full of love and laughter and maybe someday kids. I want to grow old with you and still come back to this Overlook on the 15th of every month to remember where we started. Sophia Sullivan, will you marry me?" The ring was beautiful, a sapphire the exact color of the evening sky surrounded by small diamonds. It was perfect, not ostentatious, just right. "Yes," Sophia said through her tears. "Yes, of course I will marry you." Isaac slipped the ring on her finger, then stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her deeply. When they broke apart, both of them were crying and laughing at once. "I love you so much," Sophia said. "I love you too, more than I thought it was possible to love someone." They sat together on the bench as the sun set, planning their future. A wedding in the spring, something small and intimate with just family and close friends. A honeymoon, Sophia insisting she get to help plan it so Isaac did not book them on a private island or something equally ridiculous. Maybe moving to a house with a yard, somewhere with space to grow. Kids eventually, 2 or 3 enough to fill a home with noise and chaos and love. "Are you sure you want all that?" Sophia asked. "You have been a bachelor for so long. Kids are loud and messy and expensive." Isaac laughed. "Sophia, I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let them be as expensive as they want. And I have lived quiet and clean and orderly. I am ready for loud and messy and real." They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony at a garden venue outside the city. Sophia wore a simple white dress, and Isaac wore a suit he had bought specifically for the occasion instead of using one of the dozens he already owned. Her father walked her down the aisle, his eyes wet with tears. Isaac's mother and sister sat in the front row, beaming. Marcus was Isaac's best man, having come around to Sophia after seeing how happy she made his friend and business partner. The reception was held under string lights, with dinner and dancing and toasts that made everyone laugh and cry. Thomas gave a speech about how Isaac had given his daughter back her smile after grief had stolen it. Elena spoke about how Sophia had given Isaac back his heart after years of guarding it too carefully. Isaac and Sophia danced their first dance to an old love song, swaying together under the lights, completely wrapped up in each other. "Happy," Isaac murmured against her hair, "incredibly. You, more than I knew how to be. Thank you for giving me a chance, for forgiving me for being an idiot. Thank you for finding me at that Overlook, for staying when you could have left. Best decision I ever made." They honeymooned in Italy, 2 weeks of exploring small towns and eating incredible food and making love in sunlit rooms. Sophia took 1,000,000 pictures, and Isaac watched her with a contentment he had never known existed. This was what life was supposed to be, not the endless pursuit of more money, more success, more recognition. Just being with someone you loved, experiencing the world together, building memories. When they returned home, they started house hunting, looking for a place that would be theirs, not just Isaac's or Sophia's but truly shared. They found a beautiful craftsman-style home with a big yard and a porch perfect for morning coffee. It needed some work, and Sophia insisted they renovate it themselves rather than hiring people to do everything. Isaac learned to paint walls and install light fixtures, and Sophia learned that her perfectionist husband struggled to let anything be less than flawless. Sophia converted one of the bedrooms into an office for her design work, which had grown enough that she was turning down clients. Isaac started working from home 2 days a week, setting up an office so he could spend more time with his wife. They planted a garden together that first spring, Sophia channeling her mother's love of growing things. She cried the first time the tomatoes ripened, and Isaac held her on the back porch, understanding that grief could coexist with happiness, that remembering someone you lost did not mean you were not moving forward. They still went to the Overlook every month on the 15th, a tradition they refused to break even as their lives got busier. Sometimes they talked about big things, dreams and fears and plans. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence, watching the valley below. It was their place, where their story had begun, and they treated it as sacred. 2 years into their marriage, Sophia got pregnant. They found out on a rainy Tuesday morning, staring at the positive test together in their bathroom, both of them crying with joy and terror. Isaac immediately went into protective mode, reading every pregnancy book he could find, baby-proofing the house months before it was necessary, attending every doctor's appointment. Their daughter was born in early spring, a healthy baby girl they named Emma Rose. Isaac held her for the first time and cried, this tiny person who was half him and half Sophia, a perfect blend of their love. Sophia watched her husband become a father and fell in love with him all over again, seeing his gentleness and devotion to their daughter. Parenthood was hard in ways they had not anticipated. The sleepless nights, the constant worry, the way having a child changed every aspect of their lives. But it was also full of profound joy. Emma's first smile, her first laugh, watching her discover the world with wide-eyed wonder. Isaac cut back his hours at work, promoting capable people to handle more of the day-to-day operations. He had built Zenith Industries to be successful, but he had built a family to be present for. Sophia worked from home, designing during nap times and after bedtime, finding a rhythm that worked for their new life. Thomas came over often to visit his granddaughter, his face lighting up every time he held Emma. Daniel and his family were frequent visitors too, and the house was often full of people and noise and love. Isaac's mother flew in regularly, spoiling Emma shamelessly. Alina and her husband visited during school breaks, his sister declaring Emma the most beautiful baby ever born. When Emma was 6 months old, Isaac and Sophia took her to the Overlook for the first time. They sat on the bench together, Emma sleeping in Sophia's arms, looking out at the valley. "You know," Sophia said softly, "if you had not come here that night, if you had decided to skip it just that once, we never would have met." "I thought about not coming," Isaac admitted. "I had a dinner meeting that ran late. I almost just went home, but something made me drive up here anyway. Fate, maybe, or just luck. Either way, I am grateful." He kissed the top of Emma's head, then kissed Sophia. "You gave me everything I did not know I was missing. A real home, a real family, a real life. You gave me the same. I was drowning in grief when we met, and you gave me a reason to keep swimming." They sat together as the sun set, their daughter between them, the valley spread out below. The Overlook where they had met, where they had fallen in love, where Isaac had proposed. It would always be special to them, this place where two broken people had found each other and built something whole. 2 years later they had a son, Jacob Thomas, named for both their fathers. Their family was complete, their house full of toys and laughter, and the beautiful chaos Isaac had craved. He had stepped back even further from Zenith Industries, letting Marcus and his management team run most operations while he focused on being a husband and father. Sophia's design business had evolved into teaching, mentoring young designers and running workshops. She loved sharing her knowledge, helping others find their creative voices. The financial pressure was completely gone, not because Isaac was supporting her, though he certainly could, but because her work was successful and fulfilling in its own right. They took vacations as a family, introducing Emma and Jacob to the world. They had traditions, Sunday dinners, monthly visits to the Overlook, movie nights every Friday. They argued sometimes about parenting decisions and household responsibilities, and the fact that Isaac still struggled to not solve every problem by throwing money at it. But they always worked through it, remembering the promises they had made to each other to communicate and be honest. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they renewed their vows at the Overlook, surrounded by family and friends. Emma was 4, Jacob was 2, both of them dressed up and excited to be part of the celebration. Sophia wore a simple dress and Isaac wore jeans and a button-down, and they spoke from the heart about their journey together. "I found you crying on this bench 5.5 years ago," Isaac said, holding both her hands. I thought I was looking for solitude, but what I really needed was you. You saved me, Sophia. From loneliness, from emptiness, from a life that looked successful but felt hollow. You taught me that love is not something to be guarded and protected out of fear. It is something to be given freely, trusted completely. You are my home, my heart, my everything. Sophia was crying, but she was smiling too. I was lost when we met. Drowning in grief, unsure of who I was supposed to be without my mother. You did not try to fix me or save me. You just sat with me in my pain and let me feel it. That gave me the strength to heal. And then you loved me, completely and imperfectly, and you taught me to trust again. You gave me a family, a home, a life I never imagined I could have. I love you, Isaac, today and always. They kissed while their children giggled and their families cheered. Later, after the cake and the celebration, after the kids were exhausted and passed out in the car, Isaac and Sophia sat alone on the bench for a few minutes, watching the stars come out. You ever wonder what your life would be like if we had not met? Sophia asked. Sometimes. And it always looks sad and empty, just work and money and going through the motions. I think I would have been okay eventually. Grief does get easier, but I would not have been this happy, this complete. Isaac pulled her close, and she rested her head on his shoulder. You know what I am most grateful for? That I came here that night, that I heard you crying and did not walk away, that I was brave enough to take a chance on someone, even though I was terrified of being hurt again. I am grateful you lied to me about being rich, Sophia said, and he laughed. Really? Really? If I had known who you were from the start, I might have been too intimidated to be myself. I might have put on some kind of front, tried to be someone I thought you would want. Because you did not tell me, I got to just be Sophia. Broken, grieving, real Sophia. And you fell in love with that version of me. I fell in love with the only version of you. There is no other version. They sat together in comfortable silence. Two people who had found each other in the right place at the right time, who had overcome their fears and their differences to build something beautiful, who had created a family, a home, a life full of love. The Overlook would always be theirs. They would keep coming back on the 15th of every month, even as their children grew and their lives changed. It was where their story had begun, where they had fallen in love, where they had promised their lives to each other. It was sacred ground, a reminder of how far they had come and how grateful they were to have found each other. Years would pass. Emma and Jacob would grow into teenagers, then adults with their own lives and dreams. Isaac would eventually retire completely from Zenith Industries, passing the company to the next generation of leaders. Sophia would publish a book on design, a bestseller that established her as a voice in her field. They would travel, explore, spend time with grandchildren when they came along, but they would always come back to this Overlook on the 15th of every month. Two people who had been lost and lonely, who had found each other in the darkness and built a life in the light. Two people who had learned that love was not about perfection or wealth or fear. It was about trust and honesty and showing up for each other, even when it was hard. Isaac had found Sophia crying at the Overlook he visited every month, never expecting her to be there too. But she was. And that chance encounter had changed everything, transforming two separate lives into one beautiful story of love, family, and the courage to be vulnerable enough to let someone in. As they drove home that anniversary night, their children sleeping in the back seat, their hands linked across the center console, Isaac thought about the man he had been 5 years ago. Successful but empty, wealthy but alone, guarded and careful and scared. That man was gone, replaced by someone who knew what really mattered. Not the money in his bank account or the buildings with his company's name on them. Just the woman beside him, the children behind them, and the home they were driving toward. That was everything. That was more than enough. That was the life he had been searching for without knowing it, found in the most unexpected place with the most unexpected person. And he had never been more grateful for anything in his life.